Hello everyone. Let's see if we have some. Yep, sounds like we have sound going, and we have Wham Bam as a first joiner, stream participant. Awesome, welcome. And we have Mr. Epics. Welcome. So today I'm thinking we should try to build a new function to the Bicep PowerShell module. Let's see if I can get my screen up here. Here we go. So we're in the Bicep PowerShell repository and I've opened code. And last time let's close all these one. I had a bit of an unfortunate power outage. So after like almost an hour streaming, the power to the whole neighborhood went down, and well, so did my internet and my network and my whole house. And what I tried to do at that time was to start writing a test bicep command, and this is how far we got. Let's make this a little bit bigger. So yeah, I need to buy a generator. I've been living in this house for probably like 7 or 8 years, and this is the first unscheduled power outage. And it lasted for like 20 minutes. So I don't think that is a good investment, to be honest. Should have had a... No, I'm not in Texas, I'm in Sweden. Should have Jira run on power supply deploy. Yeah, well, so my computer is running on battery power, and I do have a small UPS for my router, but I realized that my fiber converter doesn't have battery backup. So as soon as the power is out, the lights in my fiber cable that goes into the house goes dark, and that means no internet. So I actually thought about maybe I should put a battery backup on the fiber converter. That shouldn't be too hard. Problem is, whenever my house loses power, the station that houses like the other end of the fiber cable also loses power. So doesn't really help actually. So I decided that power backup is, well, I'll just have a walk once every 8 years or something when it happens. Okay, so back to Bicep. We have this Bicep module. I'm just gonna show it real quick. Let's get the browser up here. I think you should all have known this by now, but there is this awesome PowerShell module called Bicep PowerShell, and it has a bunch of commands, and you can use it to work with Bicep files. And Bicep files is basically infrastructure as code, so you can write Bicep files and compile them or build them into ARM templates, and ARM templates is what we are using to deploy infrastructure in Azure. You think I should have walk more often than that? Yeah, I probably should have a walk more often than every 8 years or so, but yeah, who knows? Might be that I'm actually walking a little bit more often, but I get an extra walk every time I have a power outage. So yep, so this module is awesome. We've been doing a lot of work on it, and I think it's working good. One problem is that when we're running Bicep, when we're using Bicep in Azure pipelines, and also when we are like just doing automation with Bicep, I'm not too keen on the fact that you just like compile or build a Bicep and then deploy whatever you get. So I want to have a way of testing and validating a Bicep file. And I want to experiment a little bit with how we can how we can do that and how we can change like our different testing criteria. So like test that there are no errors, test that there are no errors or warnings, and maybe even test if there are errors, warnings, or like linter recommendations, because we got some new recommendations in the latest version of Bicep. So I hope we can get that working. And yeah, we'll just start and see how far we go, or how far we can get. First, I'm going to create a new branch. Oops. Check out dash b, and let's call it test bicep. Right, so now we're in a new branch. I have a new file. It's called testbicep.ps1. I'm going to create a commandlet. I'm going to call it test bicep. And we're going to need a, wonder if we can do parameter path. Ta-da! I think we're going to satisfy with one path for now. Specifies path to a bicep file. So it's mandatory. It has position 0. Oh, this is the parameter snippet. You haven't seen it? It's amazing. So I always forget about this, but when you stand in this parameter block, you can do parameter. And there are actually a bunch of parameter like scaffolds. So you have the basic parameter thingy. You have a literal path parameter, you have a path parameter, and you have a path with wildcards. So the path parameter just gives us a path, and it's position 0, that's good. We actually don't need a parameter set name yet, at least, so I'm just going to leave that. And then we need a parameter name, and we're going to call it path. And it also gives it the alias of piece path, which is kind of cool. Yeah, you usually actually accidentally hit it wrong. Yeah, usually when I do a parameter, I do like this. So this is super annoying. I do like this, and then I do param, and then I hit enter. And what happened now is that it actually gave me this whole parameter thingy, but now it did it inside of brackets like this. Terrible. It annoys the out of me. Uh, So I'm trying to actually use the parameter snippet and learn to do that, because then, well, hopefully it won't happen. Also, I'm not a big fan of the whole thing of putting all these in, so I'm just going to remove the ones I don't need. I'm going to take value from pipeline. Yeah, I'm going to take those two. Let's just do auto formatting like this. And we're going to skip the help message actually. Oops. Param. Here we go. So I think that's good. And we're only going to take one at the moment. Excuse me. We said that we were accepting pipeline values, so we're going to need a process block. And then I actually don't know what to do. Let's have a look at build bicep. gonna have to zoom out a bit here. So build bicep takes a path, and oh yeah, so the first thing, whoops. The first thing it does is to check if we have the latest version of the module. We should probably do that here too. So this is in-memory setting that we just keep track of if we have reminded the user that they're running an old version of Bicep, and if they're not, shout out to Peace Custom Peace. Yeah, snippets are sometimes a great thing to have, and sometimes they make life hard for you when you accidentally trigger them. So we're going to do a test module version, then we're not going to have an output parameter of any kind. So if verbose preference equals continue, oh, we probably want that part too. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing, Mr. Epix. I'm thinking I'm gonna do I'm gonna call on the Bicep parser, and I'm gonna parse the whole file and do like an in-memory compilation, and then I'm gonna throw away the result and just go through the diagnostics. I'm not certain if I want to work directly with the like parse bicep private function, or if I want to just call build bicep and outstring. I have to think a little bit about that, I think. So let's see. In here we so build bicep, yeah, it takes all the bicep files in that path. I'm thinking we're gonna take a specific file here. Yeah, so this one is doing parse bicep. And if it founds yeah, we're getting the module version here. We're building some metadata. So this part we don't need to do in tests. And if that is present, we output the ARM template. So actually this doesn't do too much. That's good. Because there's a pro con to both parse bicep and build bicep. It depends what layer of behavior you want to have a dependency on, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I totally agree with you. So the pro of using the build bicep. So build bicep is a public function. It's a function that our users can use directly. It's exposed from the module, and we could wrap that and just like run it and depend on it and give it like basically the same result. So let's go to the terminal here and import the module bicep, and I think I have a yeah, so this is super broken, but I think this one is fairly good. So if I just do like build bicep path that one. You can see that I get the warning, and then it doesn't say anything because I don't have any errors. But if I do build bicep, I get a ton of errors because this is really weird, or really, this is a super broken template that I use for testing purposes. So as you can see here, I get a lot of like the output here, and all this output is actually, I think I should try to slim this down. It's a little bit too much errors in this one. So all this output is actually coming out as diagnostic information, so I could capture that and like work with it. But as you're saying, Mr. Epics, so that's the pro. The con or the downside of that is that we would have like a function that depends on another public function, and whenever we want to change the behavior of build bicep, which is like a public function, then we risk breaking the test bicep. Yeah, every time we try to modify the build bicep function, then we risk breaking the test bicep, and I don't think that's a good situation to be in. So I'm actually thinking I'm going to re-implement this, and I think this should be enough. And let's have a look at parse bicep. Oh, so we also have a private version, a private function called test bicep, which tests if we have the bicep CLI component installed. Maybe yeah, you're absolutely correct. It will be a lot easier to write tests later. I probably should write tests first, but yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. We should maybe we should rename that. But yeah, let's do that another day. Let's not do today what you can procrastinate until tomorrow. What's the saying? So this is the parse bicep. This is the actual bicep magic. The part where we load the bicep compiler. And then we go through the compilation results, and that contains a bunch of syntax trees, and then we get the value of that, which is the diagnostic result, and then we say if get count, and I think false is like include errors, but I don't remember what the get count was for. Let's try if we can do this. Where is there's the path. Let's do it like this, $path. Get item like this. And then we do path equals bicep.full name. That should give us the full path to the bicep file. And then we should be able to take all this and just put it down here. That will load a compilation or compiler or whatever. And then we can do get all diagnostics by syntax tree. And if we look in compilation results, we have a hash table with one key, which is the syntax tree. So then we can do like this, I guess. We couldn't. It should just the name to be test bicep file, in which case there will be such. Oh, you're the smart one actually reading the instructions. I should try that sometime. Let's do a name and call it test bicep file. That's actually a really great idea. And do test bicep file. Here we go. Good. Now let's see where we have this. So we have the compilation results. Oh, there are no diagnostics in this one because there are no like errors or anything. So let's break the bicep. Some property invalid. Yeah, breaking biceps sounds painful. I agree. Let's recompile the thingy. And where's my parse bicep? We did not do a compilation result. Let's try that one. And then look at compilation results. Now we have stuff in the thingy. I'm not sure if this is a string or an object. It's probably an object. Let's do compilation results dot keys first key. Ta-da! So here we have a diagnostic output, and then we have this. So that's our diagnostic result. Let's just try to do the same thing. Just make sure this. Yep, that's our result. And then we have a get count. Only if sheep. Okay, yeah, that makes it a lot easier. Do you know what that means, Mr. Epix? You only work with expensive biceps. Yeah. So we have one, let's say, oh, the one we had is sheep. So I'm assuming that this is like a setting, like if you have like a huge recursiveness or a huge template and you do this get count, it could like recurse and work its way through a huge tree of code. So I assume only if sheep is like only do a few iterations or something. For me to remember that, I'm going to do this. I'm not sure if this makes it better, but yeah, please do. And tell me tomorrow if it does what I think. But this way, at least I can like have a hint on what I'm actually doing. So if the count is greater than 0, we get something. And if ignore diagnostics, we're not going to ignore diagnostics because that's the whole thing about testing bicep files. And then we do the right bicep diagnostic. And we give it the syntax tree. And the syntax tree is the key. And that is the whole diagnostic. Yeah, makes sense. So what does right bicep diagnostic do? So it takes the diagnostic and syntax tree. So far, so good. It extracts the file URI, local path, and line starts from the syntax tree object. So that's basically not that part. I thought we had a file somewhere. Anyway, then we do the text coordinate converter to do get position. Yeah, right. So that is the part where we get the line and position. And then we say this is the line and this is the character. We get the diagnostic level, which could be like warning and error and info. There might be something else, so I wonder. So then we switch over the level and we can get an info, a warning. So let's see if we have, where is my diagnostic? That's the diagnostic, and the diagnostic is one of the diagnostic results. So that's the diagnostic result. For each. Alright, so that's just, we just have one. And where do we get the syntax tree from? That's from up there. Oh no, that's the key. Sorry. So where do we have that key? It's this thingy. Ah, yeah, alright. So let's format that as a list. So that has the file URI. This is the file we're working on. These are the line starts, and here is some program syntax and syntax hierarchy. Cool. So we should probably save that as syntax tree so I can remember that. There we go. And then we do the only sheep thingy, and so then we have a diagnostic. I should probably used to be super clear. There we go. So now we have a syntax tree and diagnostic, and that will be the same as we would have when we enter this. It's not very clear. It's a link method for IEnumerables, so we probably don't need to pay much attention to it. Good, thank you. Then let's not pay attention to it. And then we have diagnostic.level. No level? Yeah, we have level. So hopefully that's an enum. Let's get the full name of the enum. So here is the enumeration, and here are all the valid values. So we have error, info, and warning. So far, so good. So what I was worried about here is that when we got the new linter in Bicep version 0.4, I thought that maybe we got some new types here, or some new levels. And I wonder if hang on, I'm running an old version of Bicep. That's a problem with only using the developer version. I never install the actual releases. So let's update that. And while that's running, we're going to start a new PowerShell session process. We're going to go here and we're going to import module source Bicep. This should load the new assemblies. And then we should have like a path equals, not that one, path. Oh yeah, that was the one. So get item, there we go, and then path. And then we take this whole thingy here, and then we do like compilation result keys, and the first key level call get type and full name. There we have the diagnostic level, and we still have error, info, warning off. Don't think we had that before. No off. Funky. Wonder if I can do like get values and then do like this. Awesome. So that's the actual values, the valid values. And if we let's blow this thing up so we can see, whoops, sorry. And then we do the same here. Bicep core diagnostic, get value by diagnostic level. Apparently we have an off setting now. So we should probably handle that, and I think we should do that here somewhere. Here actually. So it could be off. I don't know what to do with off. We have to figure that out. Yeah, seems to do with linter. Absolutely agree. So we create the host information and we just give it the tag of whatever that is. And don't know what we should. Maybe we should do verbose color. Yeah, I don't know. And then we're going to add a default down here. So this will happen whenever none of these hits. So for example, if we have another one, yep, it's only used in to disable and right, so maybe they shouldn't do any output at all then. Let's see. Default should probably do like a bright warning, unhandled diagnostic level. There we go. Yeah, so hopefully we'll never see this, but we'll see. At least we have something to handle it right now. And then we're going back to our test bicep. So I think we're going to do the same as build bicep. Where we are. There we are. So this thing just calls parse bicep and then parse bicep calls right bicep diagnostic. And then it says if we have an error, then we're going to do a write error and return. And if not, we're going to do this whole thing. So this will actually output the template, and we don't care about that, so we don't need that. And that will give the version that we use in the metadata. So that's also not needed. And we should probably catch this. And if that is successful, we're going to output something. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Let's just do like this. And do here somewhere. So we're going to say file equals get item path. Um, yeah, we should probably validate that it's a Bicep file somewhere later on. But for now, yes, let's just do parse Bicep. And once that's parsed, so this will emit a bunch of diagnostic thingies, and we need to do one of these weird try catches to not get the error. Which I'm maybe not too keen about, but we'll go with it and see what happens. So we need to have this, and that's going to do a bunch of diagnostic outputs. So then we need to do like diagnostics output equals, and then we're going to give it a, so this is called a sub expression, which basically means run this. Does Bicep have support for a string as input or only for... No. So I think the Bicep parser does not support string input because Bicep, so in a Bicep file you have references to other files, and the whole thing builds up in having files located in a relative path to another file. So you can never give it a string as an input because then it wouldn't have any relative path. So I don't think that, like, that would probably break the whole parser and everything. Yeah, so we're gonna run this and we're gonna save the output from this into this thingy. And actually I'm gonna call that null because we don't care about the outputs. And make sure, so yeah, so we're outputting a string. And then we're gonna take whatever comes out of this sub expression, and we are gonna take everything that comes in stream number 6, and we're gonna redirect it to stream number 1. So this is kind of a funky version of saying throw away whatever standard output I get and take all the verbose or information stream output and put that into standard output. So that will give me like the diagnostic output here, and I probably need an error action stop on this one. I hope it supports that. It does. Good. So if we get an error here, we will still get all the diagnostic output, but then it will throw a terminating error with an error message, and we don't want to show that to our user just yet, at least. So if we're catching this and just say we don't care for errors here, now we should have a diagnostic output, and that, so what do we want to do with that? We probably need to group that, so let's do like diagnostic output type group object on So now's the question. I can imagine having a bunch of different results from this command. I'm thinking we can have like a parameter called, let's do parameter like this, and say set output type, and this should not have any attributes, and it should be a string, and let's call it output type. And then we need to do validate set and say this could be simple. Let's try that again. Simple. Or it could be JSON output. Yeah. That's enough for now. What is the desired output? Yeah, so I actually don't know what to output yet, but I'm thinking let's build something and see how it works and like see if we feel that that's a usable or a good scenario. And if it is, we'll just run with it. And if it isn't, we'll try something else. But I'm thinking like if we do simple, and that's going to be the default, then we just going to do like a true false. And if we want JSON, we should do like a JSON output. But I don't think we should yeah, I don't think I want this to actually throw or like terminate. Because yeah, that's just not how test commands usually work. So let's say we have like most used one, it's probably test path. So I can test path to like a directory like this and it says true. Or I can say not a directory, oops, even misspelled, and it says false. So this doesn't really, and I don't think it has. Yeah, so it tests a bunch of scenarios, but yeah, so by default I think true or false is a good output. And that's why we are catching all the errors here and just not showing them. And then when we're down here, I'm thinking maybe we should do a switch over output type and say if the output type is simple. Yeah, I'm thinking we can do something like simple JSON. Maybe just an output also. I wonder if we can use. So there is this command I never use. I think it's called t object. Yeah, maybe not. What if we do like a parameter and say, write the output to screen, and then do no parameters and call it switch, and just say yeah, so T object, I think it takes whatever is in the pipeline, and then you can like it will also output it to the pipeline, but it can output this to a file or to a variable or to something else. So you can see here you can do like output, take any output I pipe to it and write that to a file, and also like yeah exactly like pass through and out file in this case. And in this case it's like an out variable and pass through at the same time. It's I've actually never found a really good use for it, so I thought that could be cool now, but apparently not. Show the diagnostic output. So I'm thinking is there like a common parameter that is information variable? Just like get item that information variable. That's actually even better. Yeah, that's definitely a little bit niche. That means we can't use this cool operator, but instead we're going to do this. And we're going to say information, information variable should be diagnostic output. Okay, so now we will not output any ARM template because we do output this to null, and then whatever comes in the information stream will be saved in the diagnostic output. I wonder if it will be saved only in the diagnostic output or if it will also be outputted. We need to test this. Let's do language mode, PowerShell, and commandlet. Test something. My value, and do like write information. This is test. Monkey. Right. So let's just take this whole thing and go to our terminal, paste it here, do test, and that says monkey. Test that dash information action continue. Says this is test. Okay. Information variable. My info. Awesome! That is exactly what I want to happen. Okay. So now we will get diagnostic output into the diagnostic output variable. However, we will also get it outputted somewhere else as well to the screen. So I wonder, I'm not too keen on this, but I think we have to repeat ourselves. So if dollar show diagnostic output, then we do this. Oops. Yeah, so I'm thinking if we do show diagnostic outputs, then we should just output it as is. And this will output it as is to the console, while also saving it in our diagnostic output. Oops. If we don't want that, then we're going to take the information action and redirect that to 1 and save it into null. I have the wrong brackets. You are totally right. Thank you, Mr. Epix. There we go. So this, and we probably need to have a comment here stating what we do if someone gets confused by the redirection part. That should say something like output regular diagnostic output. Yes, redirect operator redirect information stream to output and save in null. Lock quiet void. Send to null. Right, that should be enough. So if we have an error, we don't care about that. And if the output type is simple, I also wonder if we should have like a way of saying, I'm fine with so I want to break on only errors, or I want to break on errors and warnings, and or I want to break with on info, warning, and error. Maybe we need another parameter called like list of or what do we call that? So diagnostic preference. Because so we have a variable called confirm preference. You can set that to none, low, medium, or high. And whenever you have a command that sets an impact of none, low, medium, or high, and whenever the impact of a commandlet is same value as your preference or higher, then you will get like a confirm prompt, like, are you sure you want to do this? Yeah, so I'm thinking diagnostic level makes sense. Diagnostic or diagnostic preference. Level of diagnostic that will fail the test. And then we need a parameter and validate set warning information. Should be a string. What we're actually saying is allow diagnostic level, right? And defaulting to error. So if error would be allowed, then we would succeed if we get an error. So error is not allowed. That's like whatever we set here is not allowed. It's the lowest bar for failing. So it's like the last not allowed value. And I think we actually need to do bicep, PowerShell bicep. I think we need an enumeration here. So let's see if we can call it something smart, like diagnostic preference. That could probably collide with something, so we should call it like oh, so there are a built-in enum for diagnostics. Ah, you mean the bicep one? Yeah, that's really smart. Where did I have that? Of course, this is what we're going to use. And we're going to call it diagnostic preference or threshold or diagnostic. Yeah, let's call it preference to start with. And So what if I give it 0? That's off. 1 is info. 2 is warning. Awesome. So if upper type is simple, yeah, they're gonna be the same. Makes sense. So we probably want to do you know how to crack loaders? I have no idea what kind of loaders you mean. I'm sorry. If we do it like this, so diagnos groups equals oops, this thingy, and we will group on object property tag, I think it is. And then yeah, so off will be the lowest number, and that should break the test if we have anything that is only yeah, so that breaks everything. Where are you? So this should probably be off. Not sure. And then or not even sure it's a good idea, but let's see. For each the group. Oh, come on, shift group in this whole thingy. Then we'll say like highest diag level equals null, and then dollar level, and I'm going to give it a number, and then I'm going to convert it to a diagnostic level. The group, and I'm going to pick the name. If level greater than I don't like that. Let's see if we can do something smarter. I think we can do like info is greater than off. Awesome. Let's do if this thingy, let's put it like this to be sure, is greater than and just make sure that this one is greater than null. Okay, can't do that. Right, good try at least. So if level is greater than highest diag level, then it's that. Here we go. And if dollar, actually if the integer of dollar diagnostic preference is lower than or equal to highest diag level, which should be an integer as well, then we return true. I hope this is right. Else return false. We should have written this for this default. I forgot to implement. There we go. Functions to export. Test. Missed something. Where's the file? For each diagnostic group, if You're right. Dollar group dot name. Yeah, so this is a string, and I need to cast that as a enum of diagnostic level that I can convert to an integer, and then I get level, and then I compare that with the highest diag level, and if level is higher, then we have a new high. I really hope this works. Let's open up a new PowerShell. See into here. Import module source bicep. There we go. It's imported. We should have a test bicep file path app settings. And then we have an output type diagnostic preference, show diagnostic output. So let's start with show diagnostic output. So this should just say false. Okay, so I want this thing. I don't want this thing. Where are we? So this is doing error action stop. So we should get a terminating error, and we should have caught that in here. Why didn't that happen? Let's look in parse bicep. So if we have something called error in diagnostic params, then we do a write error. And oops. And this error, we don't have an error action preference in here. No. Parse bicep. Yeah, that's what I'm calling, right? So I'm calling parse bicep with an error action of stop. So this should cause terminating error, but apparently it doesn't. That's really funky. Yes, I think it's this error message we get. It's not. Ah, sorry, you're right. It's my here. Level cannot convert value of blank to type diagnostic level. The identifier name can be processed because it's either it is it's this one. Hmm. Let's do this. Let's take this whole thing. So I think we could try to re-import it. And run it again. See what happens. Oh, it worked. Awesome. So now we're in here, and the script halted when it's hit this. Hey, Lisa, welcome. So now let's see what the group is. It has no name. Awesome. I love being on screen too. That's one level higher than screen 1, right? Where is my group object property tag? So let's look at the diagnostic output. Oh. Maybe I don't get the. So this is an information record. So what if I do get member on this? And here we have tags, plural, not tag. So I should be able to do tags, and that's probably a generic collection of strings. So what if we just do this? Yeah. What if we do this? Now it's looking like something. So in here, we want to do that. So we want to group by the first tag, and we know that because we'll only ever have one tag. So that should work. So if I rerun this thingy and look at this, now we should have perfect. And then for each, we should be able to do this. If I do diag group equals diagnostic group 0. Good. Now we're happy. So let's do re-importing and then just Bicep file. Okay, not perfect, but we're getting there. So this is expected and we're okay with that. And this is the actual output we wanted, and then we got true. And this thing is written to the diagnostic output, I guess, because if I do like this, I still get my diagnostic output. So the only problem here is that we lose the color. And I'm actually not sure why that happens. You can't test it with the information variable to make sure. Yeah, sure. But the thing is, up here I got it with the right thingy. Right color. Down here it loses its color. So that's funky. We need to figure out why it does that. Yeah. Yes, I'm thinking it might be this part. So what if I just comment up that part and do the import module again? And now I didn't do error stop, so I got the error, but the output is still not colored. That didn't work. Okay, I have no idea why it does that, but at least it's working if I do import again. So if I do this, we get some output. And if I don't show this, we don't get any output, and value should be true. Should not be true because we have an error. Let's look at that in a while. And then we should have a diagnostic preference, and we can set that to warning. And then it works. And error, and then okay. So apparently we have. It always works. So if my diagnostic preference what do I do with this? So my diagnostic preference should be like 0. And if 0 is lesser than, actually it should be greater than or equal, right? Maybe you don't need that at all. Let's try this. I'm getting a little bit tired, so I'm just gonna give it a test and see what happens. That's good. So if we do off, that works. If we do info, that should be false. And if we do warning, that should be false. And if we do error, that should be true, because maybe diagnostic preference should be accepted diagnostic level. That makes more sense to me. Accept diagnostic level. If I just do this, it will be false. And if I do, what happened with my variable? Didn't reload. I saved the file. Import it. Okay. Let's remove the module and try re-importing it again. And do this. Okay. Let's do a new window then. Here we go. That makes sense to me. Cool. Okay, so I think I'm actually happy there. We're off to a good start. I'm just gonna make a few comments up here. This and say start of test. This file to do. Yeah, you can absolutely get a co-author mention. Start up test bicep file to figure out why diagnostic color appears. Add support for more output types like JSON. Maybe, what's that unit test format called? Like in unit or something? X unit, whatever. Star unit. And unit, yeah. Some units. To do documentation markdown. I think that's good for now. I'm actually going to head off to bed. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. I've had a great time and I hope you had too. And I might get some time to stream a little bit later in the week. And if I don't, I'll see you back here on Monday, 9 p.m. Central European time. And until then, have a good time. Goodbye.